crashes into a power pole. Washington County's efforts to save water, and Vanfest comes back to southern Utah.
You're watching St. George News at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Amy Bennett. There was a scary incident involving a family crashing into a pole on Dixie Drive on Sunday evening. Here's Alicia Lundgren with more on the story.
A man and 2 children were transported to the hospital following a crash on 575 North Dixie Drive Sunday evening with reportedly serious injuries. The man was driving south on Dixie Drive in a black sedan when, for unknown reasons, he left the roadway, hitting a metal pole. The man was trapped inside the vehicle and needed to be extricated before he could be transported for treatment. Following the crash, while the accident reconstruction team investigated, the road was closed from 540 North to Sunset Drive.
We have recently received updates that say the children in the back seat have died, and the father is still in intensive care. I-15 northbound has reopened after a wildfire was put out near Leeds. Luckily, fire crews and emergency responders were able to stop the spread of the wildfire quickly, and I-15 was only closed for a few hours. With so many people moving into the St. George area, water conservation is at the top of the list for Washington County water managers. Here's Maury Kessler with more on the story.
In the perpetual discussion of growth in water, public officials and developers in southern Utah are sometimes made the villain by those who accuse them of greed and unchecked growth they say will ultimately bleed the county dry. However, local water managers and developers say the reality is quite the opposite. Washington County Water Conservancy District General Manager Zach Renstrom told St. George News that the water district routinely works with home builders and other groups to find the best ways to save water. An example of this collaboration is the strict code that the county and its municipalities adopted for new construction last year that was crafted between the water district, local governments, developers, and other parties. The code is considered to be the strictest in the state for new construction and mandates the use of water-saving building practices. Stacy Young, Government Affairs Director for the Southern Utah Home Builders Association, said many of the conservation measures adopted in the code were already being practiced by home builders, and they were very supportive of seeing them codified into law. Both Young and Renstrom said most developers want their projects to be as water-friendly as possible and work with local officials to accomplish that.
Thanks, Maury. A local baker is cooking up over 20 different flavors of sourdough bread and much more. Jessie Banks sat down with the chef to talk about all of her different breads and sweets.
Janessa White is a Hurricane resident and owner of Nessie's Sweet and Savory, where she bakes everything sourdough and much more.
I make a bunch of goodies. I have sourdough, carameled apples, freeze-dried candy. My sourdough flavors include a bunch of different varieties. I've got sweet and savory.
She also makes sourdough chocolate chip cookies, sourdough cinnamon rolls, and even sourdough dog treats.
My sourdough starter includes, I have organic whole wheat and organic white wheat flour. And I use also spring water from the canyons of Colorado City.
Lots of people are moving out of their houses and into their vans. Legacy Park and Hurricane hosted Vanfest, where the owners showed off their souped-up vans and on-the-road lifestyle. Here's Eric George Gould with more on the story.
Vanfest returned to Legacy Park in Hurricane this weekend, offering residents a chance to learn about what life is like on the road. Here's owner and festival director Lance Wilkinson talking about what the nomadic lifestyle is all about.
You know, it means different things to different people, right? My wife and I, we live in this van over here. Cut to the van with the signs on it and everything. So we've been full-time in it for about 2 years, and I think the pandemic was probably a pretty big driver, no pun intended, of that, to just as a reminder to get out there and live and explore and see the world. You know, you don't have to necessarily stay in one location all the time. And it's really just about memories and experiences, right? I like to say it's about the miles we travel to live the moments that we'll remember forever.
Moving into one of those vans might not be such a bad idea. And now we're going to send it over to Cannon to break down what happened this past week in sports.
Thanks, Amy. Another week of 4A state football playoffs is in the books, and there are 2 Region 9 teams remaining. Desert Hills beat Snow Canyon 49-33, and the Thunder struck quickly, leading at halftime 28-6 over the Warriors. The Thunder were carried to the win on the back of junior running back Titan Mason, who accounted for 6 of their 7 touchdowns. Dixie headed up north to Park City and couldn't hold off the Miners in the 36-14 loss. Crimson Cliffs continue to dominate as they have all year, beating Cedar 56-0. The Reds season is over, and the Mustangs will play their last home game of the season next Friday against the Thunder. SUU football won in a blowout against Abilene Christian, with the final score being 52-14 for the Thunderbirds. 4A state volleyball is over, and Desert Hills ended the season in 3rd place after getting beat by Green Canyon. Cedar ended up taking 5th at state, eventually losing a close match to Orem, who eventually went on and won the state championship. Now back to you, Amy.
Thank you for watching St. George News at 5. I'm Amy Bennett with St. George News, your #1 source for local news.
This has been St. George News at 5.